Where do you think you're going? Nobody's leaving. Nobody's walking out on this fun, old-fashioned family Christmas. No, no, we're all in this together.
Deck my halls and baste me like a turkey. Can it be that time of year already?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a great start. I love
I just
that.
wanted to make it Christmassy for you. I don't know what else to say.
I really like that.
Yeah.
So this is our Christmas episode. As you've probably guessed from that very Christmassy intro, we are keeping the same format as the Halloween episode. We are going to be covering a whole host of movies in very short, sharp little reviews. And hopefully there will be lots and lots of recommendations for you. Some that you'll have seen, some maybe you haven't seen.
The films that I'm reviewing today, like Halloween, are ones that I hadn't seen, which will come as a surprise to a lot of people when you hear the names. So we've got some classics, some contemporary, some animated, some live action, some for kids, not for kids.
Yeah.
But then we're also, I think maybe for the first time, we're going to review each other's recommendations from last year as well, which is interesting. Put it in your diaries, people, if you watched it. We should probably get started.
Yeah. And you're starting us off, aren't you?
I am. I thought we should have a very sort of animated beginning. So we're starting with animated category. So yeah, let's go. Okay, I started with probably the least Christmassy one, actually, and I didn't realise it wasn't going to be Christmassy. Because it's set at Easter. So this is Rise of the Guardians from 2012.
I love this movie.
I actually read that it was set at Easter, and I thought, oh, bloody hell, what have I done? But the first frame is a big snowflake coming over the screen, and then Jack Frost is like sat on the DreamWorks logo, and I thought, oh, perfect, we're fine. A lot of people probably know what this is about, and this was also what my main draw to it was, because I quite like myths and folklore and legends and things like that, like the film Klaus, and seeing these characters realised on screen. So you've got Santa and the Tooth Fairy, Easter Bunny, Sandman, is that what he's called? The Sandman?
Yeah, that's right.
And then Jack Frost. But like there's a spin here. So what do we get? We get an overweight mafia boss, you get a kleptomaniac dentist, a produce courier, a mute hypnotist, and a cold dead albino guy. But they've all been kind of superheroed up, so they're kind of like immortal protectors. They're like the Avengers. They're chosen. They've been chosen by the moon.
Describe like that.
But it's true. I think
it's very good. Yeah,
they really superheroed them up,
and they got chosen by the moon.
They're almost like X-Men. You've got like Eggman, Iceman, Sandman, Fat Man, Tooth Girl. It's quite good. But it mostly follows the character of Jack Frost. You sort of see him drown at the beginning, and then it's him living for centuries and centuries, immortal until he's chosen, but he doesn't really fit in. So there's lots of banter and competition between them all. I quite like characters who are, like Jack Frost. He's kind of the Peter Pan type. He's not growing up, gravity-defying mischief maker, cold bringer of joy. Really catches my eye. He's voiced by Chris Pine, and I'm not sure if he was a bit too old really to be voicing this character. I don't know how old he was meant to be in the film.
I quite like it, I have to admit. But I know what you mean. For the look of the character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you've also got people like Alec Baldwin, who completely
can't tell it's him.
No, as Santa. Hugh Jackman, who was the complete opposite.
He's my favourite.
Definitely couldn't mistake him.
An Australian Easter Bunny. It's absolutely brilliant.
Yeah,
he's the standout.
He is quite good. And then another character that you get is sort of Snow White's creepy uncle, Pitch Black, aka the Boogeyman, who I think I would have hated more if he didn't have the smooth velvety tones of Jude Law. I think he's maybe a bit too nice to be a villain.
Oh, I don't know. He pulled it off for me.
Oh, that's easy. Naughty Duke, bad. And then I just want to talk about the visuals really, because it's DreamWorks, and character designs are fantastic, especially the eyes. I notice eyes are very prominent. But just in general, I like the colours are really vivid. The textures are really good, especially when they depict magic. I think because that's quite an open playing field, really. You could do all sorts, but it really looked good, and the sand and all that stuff.
Yeah, it's a very beautiful one.
And then just a little note on the message, because I feel like Christmas films always come with a message. And last year I made a comment about how many Christmas films were just about you must believe. And unfortunately, this did start to do the same towards the end.
Yeah.
But it wasn't too bad because I think in general the film tapped into something that at one point all of us did believe, or we were gullible enough to
Gullible enough. I hope
to
there's
go
no
along
children
with.
listening to this.
They'll find out soon. Or at the very least, you would have been curious about it. So, I think even today, you don't lose that. So, in conclusion, I think if you like the Avengers and Fantastic Beasts, even and Klaus, you'll probably like this, but it might not jingle your bells. It's not very Christmassy. On the other hand, is Arthur Christmas from the year before, 2011. I wish I'd known more about this because I would have watched it in a heartbeat. So I didn't realise that Aardman Animation were involved. I did not know that. It's sort of like a collaboration between them and Sony Pictures Animation. So you get kind of like the comic quality of Chicken Run and Wallace and Gromit, but with the visuals of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. And I love the concept of this. So the idea of Christmas and Santa is kind of like an inherited line of succession, a bit like the British royal family. So it goes back generations to the original Saint Nick. But this film specifically deals with, well, how can that possibly work in the 21st century? All the questions that kids would likely ask today that they maybe wouldn't have done, say, 50 years ago. What with all the technology and lack of chimneys. And you can just tell someone's had a lot of fun coming up with the answers, really.
Yeah.
So in this, it's run like a military operation. And Christmas Eve is this big coordinated mission.
It's like the control room at NASA.
Yeah, it is. It is.
That's basically what it is.
Yeah, it's like a control ship that looks like the USS Enterprise or something. And then you've got like elves, like elf soldiers skiing down roofs and abseiling into windows and disabling alarms. They've got a sorting warehouse on the ship. They've got a present wrapping division equipped with standard issue laser guided scissors and tape guns. It's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. And the fact that it's British.
Yeah, it's very British.
I always say this, the comedy that comes from British films, it's just it's something that I just don't think other countries do as well.
Yeah.
There's some things I don't know whether other countries would relate, like ugly Christmas jumpers, board game tantrums, cracker jokes. I mean, I don't know if that's just us or if that's a widespread thing.
I don't think crackers are a thing, especially in America. I don't think they do crackers at all.
But little things like the perceptions of other countries, Canada, nobody lives there. You're in France, où est la boulangerie? It's the first thing you'd say. Yeah, I really like that, and like all the little details. I noticed some chimney lube in the background of one shot. Yeah, it's Shrek-like in the way that they've kind of thought through all the details.
The voice cast in this is brilliant as well.
Yeah,
really stands out.
I knew I recognised some of the voices, but stupidly I just couldn't pinpoint who they were until the credits. I definitely picked up on Jim Broadbent because it's his 65th portrayal of Santa Claus. And Imelda Staunton I picked up on. But yeah, James McAvoy, Hugh Laurie, Bill Nighy, they all play sort of members of the family. But the casting, the additional voices, you've got Laura Linney, Michael Palin, Robbie Coltrane, Joan Cusack, Andy Serkis, Dominic West, Tamsin Gregg. There's just so much homegrown talent. I was really, really impressed. And the message, it's not necessarily hinging on kids believing. I won't explain the plot. But yeah, it's all about, one child gets missed on Christmas Eve. You've got to put it right, otherwise the whole principle's flawed. But yeah, in conclusion, this did jingle my bells until they hurt. Yeah, it was a 5-star film for me. I really, really enjoyed it.
Great. That's brilliant.
God, they're hard to cover.
Okay. My first film is A Christmas Story, which was made in 1983. And it doesn't come across as like your usual Christmas film. It's not very colourful. It's not your usual story with Santa or anything magical in it. It's none of that at all. It is basically a child's perspective of the run up to Christmas, basically, and what he wants for Christmas. So you've got this little kid called Ralphie, who's played by Peter Billingsley, who I've pretty much never seen anything else, and haven't seen a lot of the characters in anything else either. And he wants this Red Ryder BB gun as a Christmas present. And it's all about him basically trying to convince his parents to get him the gun, and it's set in 1940s suburban America. And it's just fabulous. It really is. It actually is one of those that's grown on me year after year, so that I really look forward to watching it now. It's just brilliant. The fact that it is from a child's perspective really adds something to it, because you're seeing how the child views his parents, how he views his teachers, how he views the world. You never see it really from the adult's perspective until pretty much the end, when like they're watching the kids. That's it. It's great, really well cast, but not cast with well-known actors. It's I mean, you'd probably recognize maybe the mum and dad from other things, but other than that you wouldn't know anyone, and I find sometimes that can be a good thing, because you're not distracted.
Yeah, you don't come to it with other expectations.
Yeah, you don't come with any baggage. You don't recognize the actors, which I think in a way sometimes can pull you out of a film.
Yeah.
Whereas this one, you really get into it, and it's full of all of the things that can go wrong at Christmas, all of the little traditions they do, like they go to see the shop window when that's like put on display, and go to see Santa, and things that go wrong with the Christmas dinner, and it's all of those like really normal things, and just the fact that it's set in like the 40s as well is quite interesting. It's just really cozy. It ends on Christmas Day, basically. The end of the evening when they go into bed and they've had the day, and it's just that kind of blissful thing, that you used to feel when you've had a great day. It ends on that feeling, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I really enjoy that one. My second one's much more well known, and that is Home Alone.
Never heard of it.
Can't have Christmas without Home Alone. You can't do it. It's a must for Christmas. So if you don't know anything about Home Alone, which I doubt, because everybody knows it, so you have a family who honest to God, I want to know what that dad does, because my God, that house is frigging huge.
We settled on human trafficking last episode.
Yeah, it's something, isn't it? It's smuggling or something, because the house is ridiculous.
I think the whole family are in on it.
Yeah, there's a family of 7, 5 kids and the parents, and then there's another family, their relatives, and they're all in the house, and they're going away for Christmas. They're going to France, aren't they?
Yeah.
So it's all hustle and bustle, and getting ready to go away. And the main character, Kevin McAllister, is played by Macaulay Culkin, who is just incredible. And this was what put him on the map, this film. And he is a little brat, basically, the night before they leave. And he gets sent upstairs to the attic room, and they forget him the next day. They're late, the alarm clocks don't go off, and so in all the rushing around, they leave him at home. And it just so happens that 2 thieves are going around all the houses, and they've targeted his as the grand prize, basically, which I mean I can see, because it's bloody massive. Yeah. So it's down to him to defend his house, basically. I should mention as well, he's 8.
Yeah.
So it's not your usual plot, an 8-year-old against 2 grown men, one of which played by Joe Pesci, who was known as a gangster actor, I think, at the time. So this was very different for him. So I've got a few standouts. Obviously, Macaulay Culkin, he's brilliant. He really is. There's a few nods and winks to the camera. He's got great lines. He plays it brilliantly. The set, that the house is just incredible. They make it almost like a playhouse, don't they? By the time you get to him defending the house and all of the things he does in different places, it really is brilliant. And then my last highlight, which you can't not mention it, is the villains. They really are like a double act. It's Joe Pesci who plays Harry, and you've got Daniel Stern who plays Marv, and they're just absolutely brilliant. I love how Joe Pesci, obviously it's a children's film, he never swears, but he does that kind of Sylvester thing.
Yeah.
He does all that, and that's brilliant. And Daniel Stern is just hilarious. He's an absolute moron. and he just plays it to perfection. The slapstick of the actual end section where he's defending the house is, I mean, you could watch that at any age
Yeah.
and find it hilarious.
It's timeless comedy.
Oh God, yeah,
Slapstick.
absolutely timeless. So yes, that's Home Alone. Definitely recommend that one
Okay.
for this time of year. Can't miss it.
Yeah. Well, I'm kicking off part 2 of films from kids' perspectives with Home Alone 2, which I hadn't seen.
Yay!
This is Lost in New York, 2 years later. It's a lot of the same. I didn't hate it.
Mm-hmm.
But on reflection, I've written quite a lot of negative things. This review has negative vibes.
Oh no.
But we'll start with positives. 2 things that really make this Christmassy is the setting. I think the New York setting is really, really, really good. Except that one scene, there's like a nightmarish scene with all the bums and the whores in Central Park. That's quite scary.
It's pretty dark.
Yeah. And then the other thing is the music. Obviously, John Williams' score and the soundtrack.
Brilliant.
Especially that song All Alone on Christmas. That plays in Love Actually too. And I think it really works. But it has a new meaning here because he is alone, like physically, not just emotionally. Anyway, but then, yeah, I've got quite a few negatives. I still liked it, but there's so many subplots in this film.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, leaving and finding Kevin. You've got the hotel staff. You've got the pigeon lady, who's probably one of the best parts, actually.
Oh, absolutely brilliant.
You've got the toy store and the toy store robbery. Side note, didn't the toys look crap? No. It's just ornaments. That's not toys. And then they cram into the last sort of quarter of the film what constituted a whole half of the first film, which is the break into the house. Which, again, that's probably the best bit in general.
Yeah, it's what everyone's waiting for, isn't it?
Yeah. Again, it's that wink to the camera, slapsticky style that I think suits the film. So yeah, it kind of feels a little bit longer than Titanic does, and from what I remember, it is a bit repetitive. Like he's got the TV thing, with the video on, and that he does the silhouette dummies in the shower in this one, and then all the trip hazards and stuff. I felt like it wasn't anything I hadn't seen
You've
before.
got to remember though that this was made for kids, and they play on what worked last time, and they use it again.
Okay, I mean, I completely understand it. I just nothing really surprised me in this film.
No.
I did see that thing recently. Piers Morgan was unhappy. See this? He's had to deny that he wasn't the pigeon lady. The resemblance is uncanny.
It is. It's very similar.
Yeah.
I love you've got the pigeon lady, obviously, like you said, is brilliant. Tim Curry, I mean, fantastic.
He is good. The only thing about him, and it's not his fault, but because the film's got so much going on, it's also got so many villains.
Yeah, that's true.
Like you got him as the concierge and his crew, receptionists or bellboys, and then you got that Harry and Marv turning up. 5 villains if you include the parents, because let's face it, they are horrible. 6 if you include Donald Trump.
That's the only bad part of the film, that it's got a Donald Trump cameo in it.
Trump, yeah, yeah. But I think in the end, I had a lot of questions, and there's a few films I watched this week where I not plot holes, but just sort of I had questions. Things like, aren't airlines meant to check that everybody's on board before they leave?
Yeah.
They let Kevin on the wrong plane without checking, and then just tell him go find a seat at the back.
Yeah,
that's not how it works.
Didn't think you could just go get a seat.
Not just a free seat, is it?
I don't think so.
Yeah. I didn't really find much of a message here that wasn't already present in the first one. So I've said, in conclusion, feed the birds, tuppence a bag, always make friends with a bird woman, because you never know when you're going to need pigeon power. Because the pigeons save the day.
They do.
Yeah. And then the last one out of the kids' perspective films, and I think I've maybe slightly misunderstood this one. I hadn't seen it before, because it's not really from the kids' perspective at all. This is Miracle on 34th Street, the remake, 1994.
Brilliant.
My first note here was, you must believe, because it's one of those films.
Yeah.
But it's different, because the child starts off as a non-believer,
yes.
so Matilda knows the truth. Matilda knows the truth, and then she gets gaslighted. Gaslit? Well, Santa manipulates her. At one point, I'm sure, I don't know if he says it directly to her or if he says it to the mum, but Santa does say, if you don't believe, you're doomed for life. Ugh, creepy.
I love how your perspective on Christmas films, it's like nobody else's.
But I need to talk about Santa.
This has got the greatest Santa portrayal. I'm sorry, Richard Attenborough is the greatest Santa of all time.
I agree with you, But hear me out.
Good.
And I did find myself questioning the whole sit on knee routine. I think it is a bit weird, and I'm surprised they still let it happen today. I think that's really weird. Well, maybe not this year, but I bet someone's got some kind of VR Santa's lap simulator going on somewhere. But yeah, this Santa, I mean, for me personally, there's a few too many winks and kisses blown for my liking. I did find it a bit creepy. You know, there was moments where he's like, "Touch my buttons, child. Stroke my face." And I think there's a line. You know, there's got to be a
Are you
line.
serious? That's ridiculous.
I'm just saying you wouldn't get away with it today, I don't think. Then he turns up as the
Maybe not.
babysitter. I mean, this is alarm bells ringing for me. And then he's got this aggressive side. Like, if you don't believe, he threatens to hit you with a cane, which he does a few times. And then in the end, everyone's wearing these badges, you know, saying that they believe. And I couldn't help but think of Harvey Dent, and look how that turned out. You know, and then one thing I thought is the actual film. I bet people have actually done it. I haven't looked, but they did it with Mrs. Doubtfire. They recut the trailer into a horror film, and I reckon that they could do that because Matilda, she attracts all the weirdos. And speaking of Mrs. Doubtfire, the mum's a bit of a spoil sport, isn't she? She's a bit of a Debbie Downer and a killer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. But that's why the arc for her is so good, because she's such a straight lace non-believer, and doesn't stand for any of that kind of stuff. She's not interested.
She's the Miranda Hillard of Christmas.
Yeah, but I think it's good because she was just so badly hurt that she's just closed herself off to things. So the fact that by the end she's she believes in it all.
Around.
Yeah, I think that's all the more powerful.
Yeah, I kind of like the spin that they gave her in a way, because it wasn't just the heartbreak story, because you don't get too much detail about that. But I liked that because she works in retail, and she's a workaholic, and she's got her eyes on the KPIs and all that. I like that the film sort of exposes the commercial motivations behind Christmas, and that she's got this conflict between retail value and true value of Christmas. I quite like that. But yeah, no, it definitely was more from her perspective and about her believing than it was about the child. But I like that. That was a nice surprise. So, in conclusion, I didn't think the title of this film reflected the content. So I've come up with a new title. So from now on, this film will be known as Mrs. Doubtfather Christmas. Tell me that's not really good.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, Doubtfather Christmas. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now we're moving completely off lovely family-friendly Christmas films to the more controversial anti-Christmas films in a way. And we're starting off with a classic, Gremlins, which came out in 1984. It's a good movie, but it's kind of like, it's almost a crappy movie. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those like 80s movies,
Yeah, like Child's Play.
You like watch it now and you think, that's that's not actually that great. Like, the money that was put into it obviously didn't have loads of money, so some of the effects are dated, and you look at things now and you're thinking, it's not held up. But on the other side of it, it's kind of just got that 80s magic. You can't help but like it.
Yeah.
So Gremlins, if you're not aware, is about a town that kind of gets overrun by these horrible little creatures. So you've got this lovely little sweet Gizmo, who basically, he's a Furby, basically.
Yeah, that's a good point.
He's a Furby. And there are 3 rules. They can't be let out in sunlight because they'll die. Keep them away from any bright lights. What was the other one? I've forgotten.
Don't feed it after midnight.
Don't feed it after midnight.
And something about water.
And don't get it wet.
Don't get it wet. Yeah, that's my rule for most things.
Exactly. So there's these 3 rules, and obviously, immediately they get broken
Yeah.
to a ridiculous amount. I mean, they just get it, and on the first day, they put Gizmo right next to a glass of water. I mean, are you frigging kidding me? I mean,
Come on,
if you've
people.
been told don't get it wet, you would not put it anywhere near where there was anything to do with water. I mean, how stupid can you get? So basically, all of the rules get broken, and the town ends up overrun. People are getting killed. It's like not. It's like it's got this really funny kind of like comic feel to it, but people are like dying. It's
Serious.
it is actually quite dark when you think about that, but it's just not got that kind of tone to it at all.
No.
The acting's not great, but it's just such good fun. My favourite scene, and I can't wait for it to come on every year I watch it, is when the Gremlins are sat in the cinema watching Snow White and singing along to Hi Ho. Oh my god, I absolutely love it. It's brilliant. So this is it's not very Christmassy at all.
No.
It's set around about Christmas, and obviously Gizmo's a Christmas present. But other than that, there's not much Christmas in it.
Yeah, it's like Die Hard in a way, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's the argument of what is and what isn't.
Yeah, but it's really good fun. I think everybody should watch Gremlins at least once. It's got that 80s feel to it, and that usually is pretty damn good usually. So so that's Gremlins. My second one, which is perhaps more controversial, but slightly more Christmassy, is Matt's recommendation from last year. He's been wanting me to watch this for friggin' ages, and that's Anna and the Apocalypse.
It was hard work getting you to watch this.
This is basically a film about teenagers in a British town, school, that kind of thing, who are overrun with zombies at Christmas. So it's not your usual plot for a Christmas movie. It's very well done. It's obviously an indie, you can tell straight away, but it's got all of the talent, I think, that you get from great films. The script is very well done. The songs are brilliant. I forgot to mention it's a musical.
Yeah, it's a brilliant
musical. It's a zombie
musical.
apocalypse at Christmas musical.
Yeah.
So it's pretty out there. But the songs are very well done. They reminded me of like La La Land, Sing Street, really catchy, very well done. Lyrics and the message in them and just the placement, all very well done. I think the acting was good. This did not go where I thought it was going to go. Like,
it's dark.
Like they killed the best mate. I was like,
yeah,
what?
I know, that's the word. They killed John.
I was like,
I watched it last night.
Me?
And I forgot that happened. And
yeah,
so upset.
I was not expecting. I mean, the dad I was expecting.
He couldn't outrun them. Sorry,
I was expecting that. But not the best mate. I thought she was going to realise that she was in love with him at the end, and that they, killed them all. And then the people that they'd been with the entire movie, they were zombies as well. I was like, are you freaking kidding?
It's not really a spoiler because you expect people to be lost along the way. You just don't know which ones.
Yeah, but I mean, I just didn't think I didn't see it coming. Let's just put it that way.
I think it added to the originality of it all.
Oh
really.
yeah,
they kind of had some audacity.
Yeah, you couldn't read it. I thought the lead actress.
She's called Ella Hunt.
Yes, she was very, very good. I think she's got a very good future ahead of her. A lot of potential because she was very good. I'm not going to add it to my Christmas list, I don't think, because I don't think it was Christmassy enough for me.
Well, maybe it could come on November the 9th, just after Halloween, before Christmas. This is one of the ones I will watch every year.
Yeah, I would watch it again, definitely.
Would you? I'm
relieved. No, I would watch it again. I think it was very well done.
It's also good to just put the soundtrack on every now and again.
I haven't looked up the soundtrack yet, but I think I would. I think it's all around.
Songs are so good.
It came out in 2017, and you don't hear a lot about it, which is, I think, a shame because it is one I think people should watch because it is a very original film. It It doesn't go where you think it's going to go, and just all aspects of it have come together really well. So I would definitely recommend it.
I've never
So
been
there you
happier.
go, Matt. There you go. Matt.
Part of me thinks you're just saying this so that
No,
just to
no.
make me happy, but I do. I know, I watched it again last night, and like from the second the first song starts, I had goosebumps. It's really roller coastery. I find it like
Mhm.
really hilarious, then really sad, and then really funny, and then
There's a bit of everything
really
in it.
serious, and then
Yeah.
and you really do go up and down, up and down. And at the end, you're like, I don't know whether I want to sing. I don't know whether I want to cry. I feel like I'm still sort of going laughing. I think it's a really,
It's
really,
quite
really good film.
bleak. It's not like, I mean, don't go
Yeah.
into it expecting to come out with all the feels, because you're just not going to get it. It's very bleak.
But yeah, that's made my day. I'm really glad that.
Good.
Yeah. Oh, right. We're going into another two-part category, contemporary films, and I'm starting with Nativity from 2009, and it's exactly what you say on the tin. So I'll only touch on the story within the context of talking about the characters. So you've got Martin Freeman, who plays a primary school teacher, Mr. Madden. So I've got to say, it's the most convincing school teacher portrayal I've seen on
He
screen.
could have been a real school teacher.
Yeah, I went on Wikipedia. I was like, so when was he a teacher? He wasn't. Yeah, he sort of brings a lot of humanity to this role, and it's a very funny film, a very silly film. And you don't get a lot of backstory to him, apart from that his girlfriend's left him to go to Hollywood.
And he's very bitter about it.
Yeah, he now hates Christmas, basically, but he's been put in charge of the Nativity. And then you've got Mr. Poppy, played by Mark Wootton, who's like the new teaching assistant that comes in.
He's hilarious.
It's very funny. On paper, he should have been more annoying, but he just wasn't, and that's good.
Yeah.
He's hilarious. He's just one of the kids, really.
Yeah, he played it really well.
He has all these hilarious suggestions, like let's go on a school trip to watch a real baby being born, and
which they actually go along with.
Yeah, they went.
What? Like, why?
I don't know how. But he's got so many great lines in the film. Like when they're auditioning, he's got, all the X Factor references are coming out. And one of my favourite lines was right before the show at the end. He says, "Right, can everyone make sure you've done a poo and a wee, because you won't get a chance later on." It's just so funny, but it's exactly what you would say. However, he's responsible for this widespread misunderstanding that Hollywood are going to come and make a film about their nativity, which is the whole point of the film. And a few other people, you've got Pam Ferris, who I love,
Amazing.
Miss Bevan, the head teacher, i.e. Miss Trunchbull's good twin, and then you've got Jason Watkins, who I'd recently watched. He was in The Crown as Harold Wilson, and he was in Des as the biographer. So to watch him in this as like the rival primary school teacher who puts on this dark RSC avant-garde production of Herod and then starts Playground Wars. It's funny. Parts of this feel like it's shot like a CBBC show, which is kind of to its detriment, I think. But overall, I think the effect is that it's quite authentic.
Yeah.
It's like a documentary, like you've gone into a school and you're watching them over a term put a play on.
Yeah.
Which I really loved.
The songs are very good as well.
They are
really actually really good.
Mm-hmm. Everything about it, really. I don't like children, but these ones were so ordinary. They weren't child actors necessarily.
No, they were just normal kids.
Yeah, and so many parts were improvised, or they'd be watching their real reactions.
Yeah, I think the credits at the end, when they put the kids, like when they're doing the audition and you see the credits, I think that is literally actually them just going in and doing auditioning.
Yeah, any audition montage in a film is perfect, but this was great because there was no backing music to any of it. It was so awkward.
Yeah, it was like obviously just what would really have happened.
Yeah, you've got like an 8-year-old singing Teenage Dirtbag and breakdancing and stuff. And at the end, you get the full Christmas nativity, and it reminded me of the Sainsbury's advert from a couple of years ago, where they're all dressed as appliances and there's a boy as a plug. Yeah, like I said, the songs are really well written, and it's just weirdly moving at the end because
it is. Yeah,
it's that whole, it's like they've pulled off the impossible.
It just hits you. Yeah,
and they're just having such a blast. So yeah, in conclusion, this really did put a smile on my face, and I think it has a really important lesson to take away. Always have a poo and a wee before doing anything important. I did it today. It worked. And then moving on, really modern films. I'm going to cover the Christmas Chronicles Part 1. I haven't got a lot to say about this, really. I like the idea of trying to catch Santa in the act, and then buggering up Christmas as a result. That's quite good. And Kurt Russell as a sort of modern Santa.
It's like the coolest Santa there's ever
Yeah,
been.
bit of an Americanized Santa as well, I've noticed.
Yeah.
You don't usually get an American Santa. He's a bit more rough around the edges and sassy and savvy, and he's got a naughtier side. He's fine bending the rules and having car chases. And
But you couldn't have a Kurt Russell Santa any other way because it just wouldn't
no,
work.
I don't think it ever worked. Yeah, he has a musical number, sort of like a jailhouse rock
does.
style.
It's very
actually in
good.
prison. I thought a few people probably quite fancy Santa in this. I
Yeah,
imagine
I
there's
think
lots
they
of people who
did.
have that.
Yeah, I
connection.
think they
don't know.
did.
And I like that he knows everyone's names and speaks to everyone in their different languages and tells them what they wanted when they were kids. But big but. That was your but. The quality, I just thought it was a bit Hallmarky. I don't know how else to say it.
It is.
I don't know what it is though. Is it the concept? Is it the acting? I think it's a bit of everything.
I think it's just, it does. I do agree with you. It does have
Yeah.
that. It's not quite good enough to be like high up on your list.
No, it must be a
watch
budget
it.
thing.
I do watch it. I've watched it the last few years, and I do enjoy it. But it's not going to compete with like Home Alone or Miracle on 34th Street or anything like that. It's not good enough.
Yeah, and I've got a whole section on plot holes. I just got a whole section. So little things. Okay, so Santa conjures up presents at will. He just pulls them out of his coat. So why can't he magic up, transport? Why does he need to find the sack of presents if he knows everybody and what they need and he's got presents tucked away? I just don't understand
You've
why that
missed
was
the
important.
point. You've missed the point. So
No, I haven't missed the point. No, I haven't. I know the point. It's at the end. It annoyed me. And I'll say it now. The lazy excuse at the end of, all these things went wrong on purpose because I wanted you to believe.
Yeah, they weren't really wrong. They were.
I just thought it was lazy. There could have been a much better way of doing that.
He could have done everything himself and sorted it, but it was about the kids getting involved and going through the motions of doing those things, and in the process,
not buying it.
They
just not buying it. I think they've literally come up with a good film. Oh, all this stuff's going to go wrong, and then they've gone, ooh, but we've got lots of plot holes. How can we cover that at the last minute? Oh yeah, we'll just say that it was all meant to happen. Oh, okay. And the other thing, I mentioned it with was it the Santa Claus where a canoe turns up under the Christmas tree?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Why don't adults in any of these films question what's going on? In this one, a skateboard turns up for Katie, I think her name is. Mum doesn't bat an eyelid.
Yeah, that's my biggest thing about Christmas films is they're all like, oh, Santa's presents. Where did these presents come from? Parents buy the presents. Why are they not saying, where did these things come from? It's like, who bought you a canoe?
There's a sequence in the sack and there's cars floating around. Who wakes up with a car on the driveway and doesn't question it? So in conclusion, leave Santa alone. That's the thing I could come up with.
Right, mine is leading straight off from that, and it's the Christmas Chronicles 2, which came out this year. It only came out, I think it was the end of November. Do you know what? I really liked this one. To the point that I actually enjoyed it more than the first one. I did really like it. It's surprisingly heartfelt. I actually teared up at the end. Oh, Christmas Tree is my favourite Christmas carol, and they sing that at the end, and I literally I was tearing up. But to the point where I was surprised I was tearing up. I was like, "What's this? What? I'm crying."
It's funny you say that because I was thinking whose favourite song would be "Oh Christmas Tree."
Yeah, me. It would be me.
Okay.
So this one is kind of the same sort of plot. You've got the same kid, Kate, from the first one, and she's gone on holiday with her mum and her new boyfriend, who is played brilliantly by Tyrese Gibson, who you would just not expect at all.
Do I know? I don't know if I know him.
He's in the Fast and Furious films.
I definitely don't know him.
And his son is but he was in The Witches that came out earlier this year. He
Oh,
played
yeah, I
Luke,
recognise his face
the
now.
main kid, and then you've got Julian Dennison, who's in it as well, playing the villain. He was the kid from Hunt for the Wilder People, and he was
Yeah.
in Deadpool 2, and he really is. He's brilliant, and he plays Bell Schnickel, which is just a brilliant name. And basically, Kate's having a hard time getting used to the fact that her mum's got this new boyfriend, and she asks Santa for help. And this Belschnickel uses these kids to his advantage because he wants to take over Christmas and have his own Christmas. And it's really good. It's quite funny. There's certain beats that are the same. Santa has another song. It's not good. It's really it's not good. Even with the help of Darlene Love, it's not good.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't like the song. Didn't work for me that bit.
It's not Anna and the Apocalypse.
Nah. But some of the parts of it were absolutely great. And the standout for me for the entire film was Kirk Douglas and Goldie Hawn together.
It's Kurt Russell.
What did I say?
Kirk Douglas.
Oh, sorry. Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn. It's just going
Sorry.
wrong.
Sorry.
And they're just brilliant together. They're a couple in real life. And
Are they?
They are, yeah. They've been
Oh, right, I
together
didn't
for
know that.
about 40 years.
Oh,
Yeah.
there you go.
And Goldie Hawn hasn't done a lot. She retired, I think, in the early 2000s, and she came back in, was it 2017, that film with Amy Schumer? A couple of years ago it's been.
I don't know.
But she doesn't really act anymore. So for her to be in this was brilliant, and the fact that they're in it together.
I don't think her face lets her act anymore.
It was really good, actually. She was just lovely.
Yeah, she was good.
She played a great Mrs. Claus. She was just nice, and I really liked it. The effects, again, it's a bit like you say, it's a bit Hallmarky. So
Yeah.
the effects work, but you're a bit like,
Yeah, I think the elves were okay. I think.
they are. They're okay. I don't like the fact that they speak a random language.
Oh, I like that.
I get it, but I'm not a huge fan of it. And the fact that Belschnickel was an elf, but he speaks English. So I don't really, So there's
Plot holes, people.
Yeah, there's plot holes. But yeah, overall, it is very good.
It was consistently better.
Yes.
Than the first one, though I think I like the plot of the first one. If it had worked better.
Yeah.
I think. So yeah, I think the second one slightly has the edge.
Yeah, I think I'd agree there. So I did. I really enjoyed it. I think you should watch it because it's good. It's moving. It is Christmassy. And I would watch it for Kurt Russell and Goldie Hawn being in a film together.
Don't watch it for Kirk Douglas because you'll be disappointed. Sorry.
Okay, so my next one is A Christmas Carol, the 2009 film made by Robert Zemeckis with Jim Carrey playing Scrooge.
Yes.
It's hard to explain this one because in certain ways it has all the beats that the usual Christmas Carol movies have. You've got the story and the characters and all that, but there is a lot more in it.
Right.
There's lots of different effects and there's lots of other things in it. Like, for instance, he gets chased by these black horses in a carriage and he's tiny little. He's like really, really miniature small, which I don't understand at all. And he's like escaping through drain pipes and then being fired up into the air. There's like loads of other things going on that aren't part of the story. And don't get me wrong, I love it. I really enjoy this movie.
You can tell that they're playing up to that motion capture 3D opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. It's not just your standard traditional Christmas Carol. There's a lot more to it. It's greatly cast. I mean, Jim Carrey does most of the work, to be honest. He's playing quite a few of the roles. He's playing Scrooge, and he's also the Ghost of Christmas Present. And I'm pretty sure he's a few of the others as well. Some of them, he's not as noticeable in some of them though. The Ghost of Christmas Present is very, very obvious. But you've also got Gary Oldman in there. He's Bob Cratchit and Marley and Tiny Tim. And then you've got Colin Firth, who's Fred. So it's got a really nice cast, and they're all lovely. I think again with the motion capture, they play up to it. So the acting is quite big.
Yeah.
It is big and bold and in your face acting. But I love it. I think I like the music. I love the feeling of it. It really sticks to that Christmas Carol tone. You know, it really just worked for me. It's quite dark in places, which I think the Dickens book is quite dark.
Yeah.
It starts off dark and bleak, and it gets to this ending that's just really moving and happy and joyous, and the film captures all of that. I think the effects really work. I love the color and the just the whole look of it works really well. So yeah, I can't not recommend this one because I think it's a lovely version. I think you could watch this and other versions of A Christmas Carol as well because it's different enough
Yeah, there's enough
for you to enjoy it.
It's me.
It's you.
It's me. Okay, my last pairing bundled together something here because I had to work with your recommendation from last year, which I was going to do anyway, and then find a pairing for it. So I've called this section Dysfunctional Families. So the film you recommended last year, I hadn't heard of until you mentioned it then. It's The Family Stone from 2005. I actually wrote the least notes for this film, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's one of those. There's not much to say. I like the title and the poster.
They're not good compliments.
Play on words, because their surname is Stone, and then part of the plot's about this wedding ring. And then the poster's like sticking up the ring finger, but at a glance it looks like the middle finger. So you learn a lot about the plot just from looking at the poster.
Oh, I'm guessing you didn't like this one very much.
No, it was all right. It was all right. I will say there are a lot of actors in here that I would not actively seek out. So Sarah Jessica Parker, Dermot Mulroney. I think he's okay.
I don't like him. I wish it was someone else. That's my only thing about the film.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him. I just don't like him.
No, we said this in the Julia Roberts episode, didn't we? That he turned up a few times. And he hasn't got a lot of charisma, I don't think.
No.
And then Luke Wilson. I mean, for me, even Rachel McAdams and Diane Keaton I can be a bit funny with sometimes. I'm not big fans of them.
That's blasphemous, Matt. That's blasphemous. Rachel McAdams and Diane Keaton, they're both brilliant.
There's some things I do not like Rachel McAdams in at all. And Diane Keaton, she gets away with just sort of being
mad
herself. I don't think she acts. She's she's mad as a box of something.
I think so, yeah.
But everyone was bearable in this, which is good. First thing I noticed, the main character, Sarah Jessica Parker, is called Meredith, and already that doesn't bode very well. And I'm looking at the Parent Trap here. Every time there's a Meredith, it's not going to go well. So Dermot Mulroney's character Everett's brought her to his family home to meet them for the first time, but also to spend Christmas with them.
Never a good thing to do.
And her name is Meredith. So, the first 45 minutes or so, it wasn't bad. I thought it was a little bit frustrating because she just does herself no favours whatsoever.
No.
But on the flip side, the family, horrible, horrible family, who had absolutely no reason to be so rude to her.
No, they didn't.
But they were bitching about her before she even turned up. It's like...
Yeah.
She didn't stand a chance. So actually, I'm kind of on SJP's side. I've never called her that. She does look like a foot, by the way, a little bit. But I found that all really quite surprising. I couldn't quite get on board with why they were being so horrible because on the surface they seem quite an inclusive and accepting family. Not least because they've got a deaf son who's in an interracial homosexual relationship. Can I say the best characters in the film, or nicest? So I didn't believe that really, and it was difficult to like anybody in the film.
I like Luke Wilson's character, Ben.
Yeah,
I do like him.
But you only really get that at that sort of 50-minute point where Meredith runs away, crashes the car, and gets drunk. Because that's where the film starts to improve, I think, because everything starts to unravel.
And she's actually much nicer than you think when you get to that
she
bit.
was just nervous.
Yeah.
And they didn't help. But yeah, you learn that there's insecurities beneath the surface within the family as well that
Mhm.
maybe might be causing their cold reception. It's not an excuse, but So yeah, it's a weird film. It fluctuates between being predictable and unpredictable. Maybe most surprisingly is how a lot of the couples reconfigure throughout the film. Like people end up with people you won't expect.
Mhm.
But I did find myself asking, why were these two in a relationship in the first place?
Yeah,
They
I
really didn't
know.
like each other. Why did he have this idea of proposing to her? I didn't get that. So yeah, no, I did enjoy it, but I enjoyed it about as much as I would enjoy climbing Mount Crumpet in Whoville. So a difficult trek to begin with, but an enjoyable ride back down. I had to make it Christmassy. I couldn't make it any mountain. And then last film for me is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation from 1989. I cheated here. This is the only one that I watched before, so I'd already seen this. I had to look this up. So National Lampoon was actually a magazine to
Mhm.
begin with, and I think that reflects in the film because the film is like a series of episodes. Really, it's like little sketches and set
Mhm.
pieces, and they're all sort of partitioned by this sort of advent calendar door opening
Yeah.
shot that counts down to Christmas Eve, counts up to Christmas Eve. So there's not really a story as such. It's a sequence of things going wrong, and that's silly. But there's nothing too ridiculous or otherworldly about it. It's quite
No.
contained within what's plausible and what's grounded.
Very typical American comedy of the time.
Yeah, sort of family unit. The stakes aren't high, but it is amusing to watch things go
Mhm.
wrong and watch people be inconvenienced by things. So some of the key scenes that you get, I think the opening titles, it's a cartoon in itself. You
Mhm.
get the whole driving and getting the Christmas tree. You get the sequence at the underwear counter, the decorating the house, stuck in the attics, the whole piece. The sled incident, the turkey dinner that's overcooked, the squirrel. So yeah, you get all these sort of self-contained vignettes about a man with bad luck, and I quite like that.
He is a moron, though. He's an absolute moron.
He is, but I mean, I had to draw the comparison with Mr. Bean, really, because it's the situational slapstick of it all. And
Mhm.
like Mr. Bean, Clark Griswold's the character played by Chevy Chase, and he's something of an inventor. So he sort of DIYs himself out of different predicaments and has this sort of determination to achieve the perfect family Christmas. And that's very Mr. Bean. That he'll be in a difficult situation. It doesn't really phase him because he'll just get around it somehow. I quite like that. Yeah, so I think the comedy again, it's quite universal. When I watched it for the first time, I thought maybe it might be too Americanized, that it'd be inaccessible, but it's not. But on the flip side, there's lots of subtleties and little details that not everybody would pick up, or you would pick up a different thing every time.
Yeah.
And there's just enough, and I love this. There's just enough like X-rated language and nudity that it surprises you every time. It always catches you off guard.
Yeah.
And my only complaint is I think the film, about 2/3 of the way through, it just lulls a bit. It stops being outrageously funny for a while. It
Yeah.
does pick back up again, but once you get to Christmas Eve, it kind of nothing hilarious happens for a bit. Take the bad with the good. In conclusion, is my last conclusion. There's no such thing as the perfect Christmas, unless you plan on kidnapping your boss and demanding a bonus, in which case all is merry and bright. Words of wisdom.
Very good.
There we
Wouldn't
go.
recommend it necessarily, but very good.
Why not?
Right. The first of my last pairing is Scrooge from 1951. This, for me, is the quintessential telling of A Christmas Carol.
Okay.
It's probably the most traditional, it's the most serious. It's one that's taken from the book, a very serious British adaptation,
Yeah.
and it is played by Alistair Sim, and for me, he is Ebenezer Scrooge. I love Michael Caine; he's a close second from the Muppet Christmas Carol, but Alistair Sim is just brilliant because he's the most believable bad person.
Right. Yeah.
I think the other versions are almost a caricature of bad.
Yeah, well, you've got people like Patrick Stewart who could never be evil, and like you say, Michael Caine.
Yeah, but it's all kind of over the top bad. Not evil necessarily, but just mean. It's over the top meanness.
Okay.
Whereas Alistair Sim's not. It's a very believable man. He plays it completely straight. And even at the end, when you see his transformation, he's not like stupid about it. It doesn't go over the top. It's a very realistic interpretation of it. And it's in black and white as well, which none of the other adaptations, the famous ones, are. So it makes it that much different. And it's a great version of the film, of the book. Sorry, I definitely recommend it. For me, it's the one that I watch it a few days before Christmas because it's just the version to watch. I think I would definitely recommend it because Alistair Sim is brilliant. He's really, really good. It's very traditional. And my last film is one I'm actually watching today. Funnily enough, it's my day. Well, I'm behind actually, so I'm catching up. And it's White Christmas, which was made in 1954. I wouldn't say this is necessarily the most Christmassy because it's not really based on a Christmas story. It's just set at Christmas. It's like the 1940s putting on a show film, really. That's the type of film it is. It's got Bing Crosby in it, Danny Kaye, Rosemary Clooney, and Vera Ellen. They're like the main four. And you've got this successful song and dance team Danny Kaye saved Bing Crosby's life in the war, and they ended up becoming a double act afterwards and became very famous. And they meet this sister act who've kind of sent them a letter and got a viewing with them, and Bing falls in love with Rosemary Clooney, and it's all very, very nice.
Like Singing in the Rain, but singing in the snow.
Not quite. Have you not seen White Christmas?
No.
Oh,
do you not know me? I haven't seen it.
You need to watch White Christmas. It's very, very good. It's a perfectly put together 50s musical. It's got all of those things you expect. So the things for me that stand out are the songs. Obviously, you've got White Christmas, you have to have, which was the second time that Bing Crosby had used it in a film because it's in Holiday Inn, which came out in 1942. So it was another 12 years after, and he was doing it again, but with the song playing the main part. And the songs are great. They're really, really good. They stand out, and they're always like especially when you get to the bit where they're at the hotel they're staying at and they're going to put this show on to help their old commander. It is like you're seeing the act.
Yeah.
So the stage is set. You're watching the choreography, you're watching the performance of it. So they're always really good to watch. And Danny Kaye is a big standout here because he's brilliant. He's really good. Bing Crosby's Bing Crosby. He's always the same. He's always brilliant. But Danny Kaye is a brilliant second part to him, and they play off each other really, really well, which is great. And then the other thing I would say about this film that really stands out, and I always think about, is the colour. The whole set design and everything they've done, it's really bold and big, and I always noticed the costuming as well. The costume in this is gorgeous, not just for the women, the men as well. Danny Kaye, some of the suits he wears, like the shoes match the suit, and the grey, and it all flows together.
I think 50s films did that though, didn't they?
They did.
They were very colourful. It reminds me of all the Douglas Sirk films.
Yeah, this feels very much like that. It's very bold and colourful, and it really stands out. And I always enjoy watching it for that. So I would highly recommend this. It's one of the old ones. It's a classic. You can't go wrong with this one. My favourite scene is the Major General coming in at the end and finding his whole troop there. It's so moving that I've never met anybody who hasn't been moved by that part, because it is so good, and it's played brilliantly. So I definitely recommend this one.
Very good. Yeah, I need to do apart from Gremlins, all the other ones I haven't seen that we've talked about with the classic ones. So I think that's probably my next year project.
It's one of those you've just got to watch at Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Or
it.
else.
We made it through.
Yeah, just about.
We made it through all
That's
the
another
movies.
16 reviews. We've done 32 reviews across this episode and Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, it's been quite good. I've enjoyed it. It's been quite fun.
It has. It's been really good fun. I mean, I haven't done anything different than I would ordinarily be doing anyway,
No.
apart from adding in Anna and the Apocalypse. Other than that, I've kept to my complete schedule exactly the same. I have done nothing different, but it was very different for you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I feel like most episodes nowadays are me watching films I haven't seen before. But, we've had a year where we've had the opportunity to watch old stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not a lot of new coming out.
No.
So let's say then you have to recommend a Christmas film this year. What would it be?
Oh,
Anna and the Apocalypse?
I would say if I was going for something that was different, and you didn't want something that played up to all of the Christmas feels, and all that kind of thing, I would say that is a very good one to go to as your kind of anti-Christmas idea. But I think if I was going to go for one that really kind of makes you feel Christmas and makes you feel good at the end, I'm going to go for A Christmas Story this year. Because it's a different take on Christmas. It's not got the whole. I mean, you've got the only Santa you see in it is the store Santa, and he's not very good, to be honest. But that's it. Other than that, it's a completely different take. It's a very realistic take on just a family, on the run up to Christmas, which we get a lot more nowadays. But I don't think we got so much of then. And I love it, and it obviously with it being set in the 1940s as well, it's very different. It's even for the time it was made in the 80s, so it wasn't like their present. It wasn't modern. It was they were looking back. So I think that one it's lovely. It's it almost feels like the Wonder Years, because you've got the adult narration telling you about his childhood. And it's just, it works really well. So I'm going to recommend A Christmas Story this year, I think.
I'm quite intrigued by that one. I'd recommend Anna and the Apocalypse.
Yes.
I would recommend Klaus, but we've done those before. So based on what I've seen this time, the standout was Arthur Christmas. And I think if I've not seen it and I hadn't heard of it, I imagine there must be somebody that is the same and hasn't seen it.
I would think so.
If you like Chicken Run, it's so similar but also so different. It's not your claymation.
It has the same tone.
Same tone, same feel, same humour, but it's got this massive Hollywood blockbuster budget behind it and look to it. I loved it. It was hilarious. Definitely Arthur Christmas this time.
I'm watching that this week.
Ooh, yay!
So I'm looking forward to it. I always really enjoy that one. That'll
be one that I watch every year.
Oh, good.
I'll watch Love Actually, Arthur Christmas, Klaus, and Anna and the Apocalypse.
That's not a bad list.
It's not bad. Maybe The Holiday, but that's an ad hoc one. I've watched that a lot, so I don't need to see it all the time. But anyway,
so that's it.
Yeah. So Christmas.
Tell them what we'll be doing in the next episode, then, Matt.
Yeah. Well, it's a funny point in our podcast timeline, because this is the first time we've redone an episode that we've done an annual turnover. So the next episode is the same. We're going to be doing our 2020 year in review. Now, last year we did a decade in review alongside this, but obviously we're not doing that. So we're going to look at what our top films of this year have been.
Yes, now This wouldn't be your usual year in review because of how this year's been, because nothing's come out. I'm for certain I need to try and catch up on a few things because I've not seen a lot of what's come out. The little of it that has. So yeah, it's going to be a funny one.
Yeah, but I think we might also look at the top films that we've watched, regardless of what year they came out or what new films we've watched. And then, just looking ahead, what does 2021 look like for the industry, for cinema, for us? And should be really interesting.
I think so.
We'll draw a line under this year. Oh, it's been great for us, I think. I think we've covered so many good topics.
Yeah, as a podcast, it's been a great year. As a year in general, it's been pretty crap.
It's gone quick, though. I think it has.
Luckily.
That's gone very quick.
Yeah.
But yeah, in the meantime,
Where can they find us, Matt?
you can find us on our website, cinechat.co.uk/podcast. Also, look out for our Christmas awards coming out probably this week.
Yeah.
Or you can find us on social media, especially Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Or you can email us at
podcast@cinechat.co.uk.
Yeah, you can email us or you can comment, and yeah, merry and bright, jingle jingle, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas, etc.
Hope you have a good one.
All of the pleasantries. It's goodbye from me.
And goodbye for me.
Ho ho ho.